2.2, which is Committee of the Whole recommendations. Perhaps we can start with the first recommendation. Does anybody want to make a motion on that one? John?
The Committee of the Whole recommends the Council that administration set up a meeting with Imperial Hall during the FCM conference or at a regular meeting of council.
All right, we talked about that at our Committee of the Whole. Is there any other thoughts on it, or?
We can meet with the weekend.
Hmm?
We can meet with the weekend.
Yeah, well, there's new people again always, but it'd be really interesting to hear what's going on.
That's what I was gonna ask. Who knows what's happening over there?
I don't know, maybe they could, Brian said something before the meeting that somebody was looking to do something, or it could just be that they're digging into cylinders, right? So,
Have they applied for any development permits or anything over there?
No.
No.
The only thing we know is, they disclosed that they've leased the property to a local interest. And, the renewed testing may have something to do with that leasing terms.
a community garden.
I think the roads are really fast.
Why do we?
Okay, so we have the meeting to set up another meeting with them. Any other discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Number 2, anybody want to, Councilor Ishushin?
The Committee of the Whole recommends that council direct administration to apply for the ACTO, Community Energy Fund 2020.
That's a
I
little
know.
All right, any discussion on this one? Again, we were looking at getting some money to put into our facilities or get a study done, right? That was the thinking. Seeing if we.
Oh, it's backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got more money than that.
Yeah. All right, seeing no other discussion, all in favor? Carried. Number 3, anyone? Councilor Tanaka?
That was mine. The Committee of the Whole recommends to council that the town facilitate a community meeting to address crime and policing in the community.
Okay. Go ahead. Councilor Stenhouse.
How about you add to that committee that we also add the water to it? If we're gonna have an open house, why don't we add the water to that?
No,
I think they're two separate issues.
Yeah.
Because, I think the crime and policing issue will take up a whole meeting.
Okay.
So when I envisioned this, it was getting, us, police, either Tarswell or some representative, if he can't make it, citizens on patrol, our community peace officer there, to have discussions on solutions and trying to mitigate the anger out there, because people are gonna be coming in angry, to try and mitigate anger and looking for constructive solutions to how can we address this, is what I envisioned with that. And the sooner we can facilitate something, the better, before school's out, because then people will be gone on holidays if they choose or whatever, so sooner than later is my recommendation.
I think the other big part of that is educating people on what they can do, and I think that's important too, and what the town can and cannot do, and
Well, that's what I,
the RCMP, yeah, so it's education, but also getting some ideas.
yes.
Councilor Wakefield?
can we invite a judge to that as well?
We
Well, I mean, I know,
I mean, we probably could, but whether they come or not, that's, I mean, we could say we invited the local judge to participate and he chose not to, but, I mean,
and I think as well as invite a judge, invite our MP and invite our MLA as well.
Okay, so any other discussion on this motion? Councillor Martins?
Councillor Tanaka, fully supported. I just was wondering if you'd have room for a friendly amendment to just add in by such and such date. I know you said sooner rather than later, but to be more specific, we're getting near that time. Given a long runway to advertise it, I'd say by May 15th. That's long enough. That's 3 weeks, 3.5 almost.
Can that be done by May 15th to invite Darswell, a judge?
It's not a question of the invite, it's a question of getting materials put together.
Okay,
So, again, we don't have any communication people that deal with these emerging issues. It would be nice if we did, but we don't. Similar to the water report that was before you, I'm the guy authoring all the papers that are coming to council. So there are 3 or 4 other initiatives that council's asked me to report on. Another week would be helpful, so if I could suggest before the end of May.
okay.
And-
All right.
And what's more important, is the water more or less important? Should that be
No,
before or?
I think the police is,
Okay,
Policing-
I'm just throwing it out there, because we're wanting to do
Policing
two, they
is
should be separate.
The crime issue is more important at this point, because right now, water-wise, I think we're okay. So I would like to address the policing issue. And the last time we had an open house was on the cannabis bylaw, which was at the Gordon Buchanan Center. I don't know if that facility is available to have that with the microphone system and everything there to do what I envision.
So
Councillor Stenhouse?
the water thing. So when are we gonna do open house for the water? Because in speaking with a member of the public, when we were discussing having the water conversation and with the flower baskets, if we bought these flower baskets and we wanna conserve water, we could put these flower baskets into that community garage sale and people might buy them. So that's what I'm saying, that community garage sale is June 1st. When are we going to do this water thing? And explain to the people how we're conserving, but we didn't foresee this drought coming. We purchased these flower baskets. The town is now putting them into this garage sale.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, and again, knowing where we're at with water, I'm not as worried about some of the water baskets or the flower baskets, they ship the water basket. And the fact that we're not having as many of them, I think is, for me, again, that's my take on it, but others can feel differently, so I don't know. We've heard one specifically when we're dealing about policing or the water restrictions that we want to deal with policing first. Is that the general gist of everybody saying that?
So,
Yeah.
so who would facilitate it?
We would.
Okay.
Yeah, we just, we would probably be the facilitators of it, to try and keep it rolling, or we get somebody from the outside to facilitate it, we listen, whatever, but just, if we're hosting it, then we should
Yeah,
probably
I
get
see
it
it's
going.
hosting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Because we're
again-
not police either, right? So
Yeah, and we're
that's
not,
all I'm saying.
we're not solving it.
I can
per
see it's
se.
hosting it for sure.
Yeah, it's just a discussion, right? So we have the friendly amendment to that
To the end of May.
before the end of May. kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. And number 4.
I wasn't here.
I don't know what the amendments are.
Councillor Martins.
That the committee of the whole recommends that council adopt the changes to the strategic priorities as detailed in the attachment.
I go through the chair, the substantive changes are the ones in red. Maybe I can just walk through what they are. So under number 3, there was discussion of supplementing the minutes with the council summary page or council highlights. So after every council meeting, there would be additional communication out to the ratepayers posted on the website that would provide some greater detail on what the highlights of the council meeting were. Social media, report back on social media policy, and those were the substantive changes. Again, there's some other items that are on there, such as, under number 6, town host a community, community preventive, crime preventive program, but those were captured in the motions that you've already captured. So the motions are the committee of the whole, and the ones in red are the substantive changes to the strategic priorities.
So is that a typo under number 6, the last column, May 1st, 2023?
I don't know because it's cut off. Sorry, Councilor. Oh, that was, sorry, that's the old one that we did, sorry. That the town did host a meeting in, I can't remember the date, but sometime in the spring of 2023 where community citizens and patrol, the judge, various businesses in town came in for an information session, for discussion at least.
Same sort of thing that we're looking at doing a little broader. What can be done, what are the issues, what are the restrictions? Okay, anything else on the strategic priorities? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Moving on then to 8.3, the purchasing policy. Can a motion on this one? Councillor Dunn?
That the attached purchasing policy 01-2024 be adopted, and that the current purchasing policy statements under the financial control policy 11-2014 be deleted.
Thank you. All right, so we did get, for some of us, got to look at it at the committee of the whole, and I can see that they added one of the things that we talked about was the local purchasing. What would be local preferences, and that's been added in with some percentages there. So throw it open to any questions that people may have or comments. Was there any, maybe I'll throw it open to our CAO, was there any other additions in here that were added from the committee of the whole?
No, other than, as the mayor indicated, the local preference variances, which are on page 39, those were not in the draft that was the committee of the whole. There was discussion on it, but it wasn't in the policy. So that's based on parameters that other communities do have. So local preference variances, if you're going to offer one, it has to be in a policy and it has to be communicated when bids go out. So that's what's now reflected in this purchasing policy.
And just my question would be, those are similar to what other communities have used, is that?
I would say they're at the higher end, specifically when it comes to crop. This takes it up to the thresholds under the various trade agreements. So these are based on the threshold. So for instance, North American trade agreements, goods and services, you can't provide any local preferences if it's about 75,000. So this ramps it up. Other municipalities may cap it at, say, 25,000. So they only give local preferences up to the first 25,000 and then nothing after that. So in order to compensate, I still allow for it or recommending to allow for it in the policy. But as you can see, as the cost of the goods or services or construction get higher, the local preferences are reduced.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So why would it be different for goods and services versus construction? Why, you know, like I see you've got different scales there.
Because those are defined under those trade agreements.
Oh, okay. Councilor Martins?
So on page 50, there's the financial policy that's been abolished. Oh,
No. To be clear, the only thing that's being abolished, if you go on to page 51, there's some purchasing policies dealing with a couple of things. So the first three items are really purchasing policy. The other stuff has nothing to do with purchasing, petty cash, expense claim. So really, it's saying page 9, 10, and 11 of the financial control policy would be deleted. That is the current purchasing policy/guidelines the town has, but they're not very effective. Let me leave it at that.
so the grant policy, the banking policy would remain as is.
Yeah, everything else would remain as it is for now, but it all needs to be updated. But purchasing is probably the most discussed issue in any municipality in terms of what the policy is. So the policy does reflect best practices, specifically in the procurement world. Everyone's moved away from lowest bid to what's called best value. So other factors may be a consideration. I'll use a real case that we're dealing with right now. The peace officer vehicle. There's only 2 manufacturers of what's called police interceptor vehicles. They both have different mileage allowance. So if you're looking at the best value, one offers way better mileage in terms of gas, that should be taken into consideration along with the purchase price. So if you look at over the life cycle of that vehicle, what is going to be the cheapest? So that's best practice. The current policy says take the lowest bid, which may mean imposing additional cost on the town because it's
In the long run.
in the long run because it's cheaper here. So you've heard the mayor talk about asset management, and that's all part of it. What is going to be the cost of acquiring this good or services over the term of the asset that you're going to use? Likewise, the 2 vehicles have very different safety ratings. So there's a higher probability that a peace officer is going to be involved in an accident than a general citizen. So if we want to provide the best protection, that weighing should be considered in your evaluation of the bids. So that's what this policy is basically striving to do. It also provides protection that's in another policy that council should delete, dealing with vendor performance. So there is another policy that I was remiss of saying it should be deleted. It deals with if the town's involved with legal action with a vendor, we shouldn't be doing business with them for a 5-year period. But that's in another standalone policy. So we have a lot of standalone policies that aren't integrated. So this is the first one that basically separate purchasing as a separate policy because it does receive probably the most attention in terms of vendors and local suppliers and the like. So that's what's before you tonight.
Did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, any other questions on this?
Just waiting to read it.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to our CAO's report and action list. Get a motion to get this started. Councilor Donica.
The council will receive CAO Bill McKinnon's report and action list for information.
Right. So with that, I'll turn it over to our CAO.
Some of these, again, through the chair, some of them have already been mentioned. We're having ongoing meetings with the county in regards to water conservation measures, advocacy, and education tips. So they've offered some communication support to help us out there. The other big item was we presented the town's capital plan to county council. They have a few questions and we'll be reconsidering the funding under the ICF agreement tomorrow again. But it looks pretty good. What we're trying to do and what we did commit to at a previous meeting is to provide a longer term financial plan, capital plan that gives them a longer horizon to look at. Because there'll always be spikes in the capital plan in any given year. But if they can see over the 5 years, there's more of an adequate project to release the funding. The intent is to release the funding based on a plan, not to go back hand in hand every year to say, which projects would you like to fund? And get carte blanche in a funding envelope based on the plan. So that's where we're at there. And on that note, the Joint Rec Committee is meeting April 30th again, and the ICF meeting is town's hosting, and that's happening on May 3rd.
Okay. Nothing else for an update? No? All right, we'll open the floor for questions, comments for our CAO. Councilor Donica.
A couple things. So the very first one on your action list was before your time, I believe. So, March 2nd, 2022, so that one's been on the books for 2 years now. Are we anywhere close to getting a telecommunication policy?
Yes.
Okay,
So there's two long outstanding items. One isn't even on this list. It deals with the Joint Rec Committee, which is the refresh of the Recreation Strategic Plan. So the individual working on them from MMSA has committed that they will be forthcoming.
okay. The next ones were the next Clean Energy Act, that's from June. The next two after that, report to council in April, report to council in April. So are we moving those report dates to May?
I'd like to get those two specific, 176 and 318. They will be before council in May.
Okay. And this is not related to your report, but it's just a refresher for me. When do we start advertising for our bursary, our return for service bursary and citizen of the year?
Yeah, that's on the list now. So I'll be bringing a draft on how council wants to proceed with the citizen of the year.
Okay,
There's maybe some changes council wishes to make, because currently council members are allowed to nominate, and they're also the judges. That may be perceived as
Nepotism.
whatever. So whether council wants to follow that practice again or not, but the rules may need to be reviewed. Again, it's not really a policy, it's more of a process. So what does council want to do with that process? But we need to start advertising it because the rodeo is coming up, right? And generally, there's some recognition at the rodeo and all that stuff, so.
Yeah, and that kind of what we have done too is done some presentating July 1st or, you know, if we're gonna do a Canada Day barbecue again.
So there is a,
Citizens Appreciation Barbecue, I guess.
so there is, you know, a bunch of other unrelated issues, but they're all tied in. So in terms of the rodeo tickets, council's already made a decision. So that means the citizen of the year won't be entitled to tickets. So what does council want to do? So there's some loose ends.
But yeah, if we get those to council soon, so we can mail them down, yeah. Councilor Martins?
Are you done, Councillor?
Oh, yes,
So on that note, it says, was the last citizen of the year, to that plaque, I know we were waiting for plaque to arrive? Was it
Yes.
given out, handed,
Well, the plaque's actually put on
on the thing?
the monument.
Okay.
Anything else? Seeing nothing, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to item 14, Children's Resource Council. They're asking for a donation. Anybody want to make a motion on this one? Yeah.
No, you can't.
If I could,
Okay. Go ahead.
if I could, on the motion 15924, the solicitor just emailed me a response on that, so we'll be sharing that with council on the action council.
what do we have that we could donate to their auction?
Yeah, well, I think, I was thinking a little bit of it, and it might be, I don't know what it costs, we could have asked for more, but a pool rental for an hour, somebody might wanna have a birthday party and rent the pool for an hour, invite all of their friends in. You know, and it's not a huge expense, but I think people would bid on it.
Yeah,
'Cause especially if you have kids, I know I rented the pool a couple of times when my kids were small and had birthday parties in there and stuff. So that would be my suggestion, but I mean,
Okay.
there might be other things. Oh, yeah,
In terms of swag, the only thing we have are sweatshirts and hats,
Yeah.
and some mugs, you know.
okay, alright. Okay,
Councilor.
and what is the cost of the pool for an hour?
I can't remember. It's in the
$108.
$100 range.
I was gonna say like 100 and something. Something.
Yeah.
Okay,
We can grab it, it's in a little binder outside.
okay,
I'll just grab it for a second.
Well, I think it's not,
It-
Bailey
it's-
figures it, what Bailey figures is 100.
108. I looked the other day
Oh,
renting it, so just the 1 hour at least, I know.
Councilor Banaka.
so I'll make a motion that the town donates the, what am I,
A 1 hour pool rental?
1 hour pool rental to the CRC for their online auction.
Okay, and that would have to come from our grants and
Yep.
sponsorship stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay, discussions on that? Don't see any. Now, because grants and sponsorship, who would be in favor of contributing to it?
I mean, it's
It's not bad.
$100.
But
Like,
I mean, but
we can split it 6 ways if you want, or you can just have one person just say, I'll just do it.
well, I mean, either way, but I just,
It's all the
who's
same.
all in favor?
I'm
I
in
guess?
favor of it.
So is everybody in favor? Councilor Stenhouse, you're not in favor? Okay, so we got 6 that are in favor. All in favor of that motion?
Should I have said the amount in 109?
Well, yeah, just 1 hour pool rental, I
Okay.
think is fine. Divide it up. Okay. Moving on then to, any upcoming meetings that we need to know about, 15?
I see that was May 3rd.
Correct, yeah, those ones are coming up.
What?
Okay, so we'll move on then to our reports. Counselor Danaka.
Other than the meetings that we were all at, I attended the gun show the first day with Councilman Chisholm for a bit. Steady stream, good conversation. People are psyched for this splash park. Taxes doesn't seem to bother them. They want the splash park. Lots of references to Whitecourt that has apparently this amazing splash park with the kiddies area, splash park, tube slide. People were commenting that they take their kids, grandkids there and they can spend the whole day there and be tired and happy. Some of the comments that were left regarding the splash park were pretty much no, too expensive, not the right time. I don't know what was left the next day for the comments, but all in all, I think it was another successful gun show. I move my verbal report for information.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, moving on, Councilor Dunn.
Last Thursday, I attended the waste management meeting, and actually a package will be going out to each of you to review. Oops, sorry, Donna, or sorry, Councilor. And so review, take a look. They are proposing to move from an authority to a commission. And so there's some documents in there. It's just the beginning stage. So take a look, gather your insights and your thoughts, and we will be at our next meeting, right? We'll be discussing. As well, I attended the gun show both Saturday and Sunday, and Saturday proved to be a little busier than Sunday, but still had people coming and going, and there was a lot of interest in the water park and stuff. And some good comments. We had some interesting comments that said, how could we make it be usable all like throughout the seasons, and you know, the thought of removing the apparatus and just turn in ice, and I'm going, I don't know if that'll work, but it was a good thought.
If they want,
It was a thought,
But they had done that, where did they do that? Do you remember, we asked where they had done that, and they said it was somewhere, and I can't remember now where they had done it.
Maybe it was over in Calgary or something. Anyway.
they want to use the splash park year round, the pool is right next door.
No, they wanted the ice, they wanted to be an ice service, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, and so I also moved to receive my verbal report for information.
All right. Any questions for,
Yes, I do.
go ahead.
So these people who were all in favor of this splash park, were they local ratepayers or?
Yes.
A good portion of them were. There were some that were from the county, and it's funny because it was the county, well, for two people from the county that they actually were glad to see that we put the impact on tax there, and because they said it is going to impact us as well. So, yeah.
Anything else, Councilor Dunn? All right. All in favor of receiving his report? Carried. Moving on to Councilor Martins.
So, I had a meeting between the last council meeting, this one, and it was that joint rec committee. The big things were that, sorry, not joint rec committee, joint health attraction and retention committee. I have joint rec committee in my mind. Anyway, we were short of a few members, actually. Two happened to be on mat leave. And the big item that we discussed was kind of bringing back to the fore very early on in our meeting, we had the gentleman from CRC talk about a daycare, and so we've got him set to come to our next council meeting, which I think is in June sometime. So that was a big topic, as this daycare is on everyone's mind, and so we're bringing him as the delegate to the next meeting. There was our representative for RHPAC, which is the Rural Health Physicians Attraction. I don't even know what it stands for now, but anyway, the lady who is our point person is moving on, and they had their strategy plan that was on my calendar, but unfortunately conflicted with our special meeting on April 16th. So I missed it, and I have a note out to see what some of the big topics were for that strat plan put forward by their CEO. I was very sad to not be here this weekend, but I was in the parking lot for like half an hour. The first half hour of Saturday morning, it was busy, it was amazing, it was a beautiful sunny day. I thought there was a lot of buzz. My husband ran in quickly for about 30 minutes while I waited outside, and I was sad not to go to the booths this year and be a part of it. And with that, if there's no questions, I'll move my report for information.
Okay, any questions? I had one. Did they ever find accommodations for that one doctor looking?
We talked about it. It was on our agenda, actually. It was tough because it was a 3-month stint, 2 family members. We certainly came up, and everyone, there was some nods across the table. Do you recall? We didn't find anything at that moment.
No, there were some suggestions, and I think the Jussard, it was sold though, that building, right? So any options we kind of came up with was, there may have been maybe a potential for 1 or 2 yet.
It was only one.
Yeah.
Again, there was a follow-up on it, and it was for that, there's a B&B, it's called, it's in Sucker Creek, and it's called Bannock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of the suggestions, but again, because I don't know if there was wheelchair accessibility as an issue, those were some of the things that we threw out there.
Okay, good. Anything else?
Has RPAC looked at like a rural trading thing? Because I've seen posts on Facebook that they've had high school students and nursing students in Barhead's Hospital, and then they've had them in like Westlock's Hospital. Have they thought of that here? Have they done that here?
You got it. So the program is called Let's Go Rural.
That's it.
And so High Prairie School Division is already on board. Holy Family, I did contact the acting principal, Mr. Morrissey there. Just need to follow up, but that is definitely something that's on our radar. Again, we're there. I mean, they've agreed in principle. It's a few months out still. The second thing I should mention of note is that we have this annual thing where, again, it's another program where you can, and I brought it to council, I believe, and you said take it back to the committee, which we did. It was to recruit a team or individual physician, let's say, for an award. And I forget what that award's called. But because we're working ahead in advance, we sent it back to a few of the EHS folks that are on our committee, and they will be kind of soliciting and doing a survey internally. Do we nominate a team? Do we nominate an individual, and so forth? So that's where that stands.
Okay, anything else? No? All in favor? Carried. For myself, same thing. The only other meeting other than the ones we attended was the gun show. And again, good event. I was the Sunday morning crew, so it wasn't as busy as I heard it was on Saturday, but still quite a few people coming around, lots of interest, like you said, in the water park. It was interesting, most of them were in the middle of the road. They didn't want to go to the low end, they didn't want to go to the high end, it was sort of middle of the road. And it would have been nice to have one that said no water park, because there was a few people that said that, but I'm gonna say that would have been not receiving many stars when I talked to people, right? There was a few that, and I got them to write it on the paper, so however many papers there were there, because I could see that's what the other ones were using. So that was the thing that came out of the water park there for the most part. So with that, I'll move my report for information. All in favor? Okay, Councillor Stenhouse?
So I attended the gun show both days, both full days. Good turnout, like you say, Saturday was very big. I wasn't in the town booth, but I was there. And I also attended on the 18th, the FCSS Volunteer Appreciation Night that was held at Triangle. It was a good turnout. It wasn't as successful as last year. Again, they're doing the regional thing, so it's taking a while. The nominations were also down, I think, and that's about it. Any questions?
Anything?
I move my verbal report for information.
All in favor? Carried. Councillor Waco?
I haven't had any meetings, but I was at the volunteer awards thing. Food was good. Yeah, and you're right, didn't seem like there was quite as many people there. I don't know if the regional approach to that is working. I get it from a volunteer standpoint, because, or well, from a staffing standpoint, it's easier to do it this way. They bounce it around. I think last year was in Canoe, so it's here, you know, whatever. I think it'll catch on, I think. And I was also able to sneak over to the gun show Saturday after work for an hour. Made it as far as Shady Orchard before I got kicked out because it was 5 o'clock. But I got my hot sauce and I got some booze for the wife, so it was all good. That is my report, and I move that for information, such as it is.
All right, any questions on that? All in favor? And Councillor Yashish?
I'll follow it right up here. So I was, on the 15th, I had the Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee. And we had, and I have to read that. We had the 6 action items, and one being the most important as being the daycare. It was the most important, was the daycare, which Councilor Martins has indicated already there. I didn't have anything else on that. We're losing our PAP person there, as was mentioned also as well. So I think the highlights were covered on that one there. I too was at the gun show on the Saturday. It was, our table was very busy. There was hardly a break in between waves of people coming through, and people were quite enthusiastic. I found approaching the table and seeing what we had going there, especially the splash park, which has already been mentioned. It seemed like that B plan was definitely, I think, ahead when I'd seen it last there. But there's quite a few gaining for the other ones. I had other people say, you know, go big or go home, because you can't add to it, you know, so you, some of the people that were familiar with the White Court one and some of the others in the communities, they were saying if they're too small, they always want to add to it. So kind of learn by what others have done there. And also the fact that people will drive to White Court for the whole day to bring the kids to the splash park. So it was very popularity, and you know, even with the tax implications there, it didn't seem to kind of push anybody away from it. I did see some negative comments that don't do it, and a few of those as well, but I think overall it was quite positive for that there. And that's all I have. I'll move my report for information.
All right, just a comment to add to that, it got me thinking that one of the things when I was there, lots of people looked at the pictures that were there. And when you looked at the picture of the middle of the road and you compared it to the picture of the expensive or the more expensive auction, it almost looked like the middle of the road one had more stuff, right? So it was a little misleading, and so you try to talk to people, but they see, oh, I can get, as nice of a thing for the same price. And so it was, I don't know, for me, maybe a little bit misleading, because when you looked at the more basic one, it was basic, which was good, and, but the middle one was as nice, maybe even a little nicer than the more expensive auctions, but they were there just to give them an idea, but it was, yeah.
So just to comment on that, because they were exactly the same. Middle was just a blown up picture of the third one, and I pointed that out to people. I said, this is just a concept. Here's the same dude with yellow swim trunks right here. See him? He's just smaller over here. And so they got a bit of laugh with that, but I found that they were more interested in finding out where it was gonna be.
Yes.
And the fact that it was, for a lot of people, the fact that it was gonna be by the pool, that we weren't gonna have to hire more staff and stuff like that to man it. If it was somewhere else, that they appreciated that, so there was a lot of good questions and stuff, and I don't know if I told them it was the right place where it's gonna be, but I said it's gonna be behind the pool, closer to between maybe Pratt. They go, well, the track's there. No, not that part.
Yeah. Councilor Danaka?
Yeah, and again, like John said, you notice that they were exactly the same and stuff, so you try and steer them, not take away from your report. Did we vote on your report?
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
And while we're still on the gun show, I forgot to mention this to Monty. A handful of town residents noticed that our banner behind us is very outdated. Cause it shows the sand store and it shows some buildings that are not there no more. So we may wanna look at upgrading that banner behind us.
Okay, anything else? No? You did move it for information? Okay, all in favor? Carried. And with that, meeting's adjourned.